Thank you. Right, and there was one more question here.
Why am I on the left? Hi, I'm Sunny Hundal, editor of Liberal Conspiracy. I consider myself on the left because I think the left is all about redistribution of power. And power, not just in the sense of state giving power to people, but also about the people taking power from the state, from corporations, and from more richer people through collectivism, through organization and activism. So I think the left is very much about people banding together and working together in solidarity, and that's...
I consider myself to be on the left rather than the right because ultimately I look at my family history. I see that I'm the first one to go to university. I'm the first one to have lived outside around the 5 square miles that I was brought up. And I think that when you look at that, you realise that society isn't built automatically to give people opportunity. It takes individuals to make that change, and that's something that comes from the left.
Okay, Kate Oakley, long-time Demos Associate, and I also teach at City University and University of Arts in London. And one of the things I wanted to reflect on really from tonight's debate was an issue that I felt was raised but not really articulated about the difference between meritocracy and egalitarianism. And people were talking about equality and egalitarianism quite a lot. But I'd really like some of the pundits on the panel to return to the work of Michael Young, particularly on the rise of the meritocracy. Because I think that one of the problems with New Labour is it's always been obsessed with the idea of merit and of releasing people's talent and of people who are ambitious and dynamic and hardworking. And in a sense, who's not in favour of those people? Everybody's in favour of those kind of people. Even the Tories would want to see a society in which people who want to aspire to be doctors or whatever can become it. And I think that one of the defining characteristics of the left should be concerned with people in a sense who aren't particularly ambitious, who aren't particularly driven, who aren't particularly dynamic in a sense, and making society that's where they are treated genuinely as being of equal worth. And I think that Young's warning in The Rise of the Meritocracy about what a meritocratic society would look like and the kind of society that we've developed in which working class people predominantly, but people who aren't particularly ambitious, who aren't particularly driven, are genuinely looked down on, despised. I think that Young's warning has actually come true, and I think that's something we seriously need to address.
I'm Meryl Roberts, and I work for Linda Reardon, who's the Member of Parliament for Halifax. And very little about Britain today actually makes me angry, because I consider myself to be very lucky to live in a country which has things such as free speech and a good quality of living in a developed country. However, what I personally get very passionately enthralled about, I suppose you might say, is the underrepresentation of minorities in the political domain. And one of the things I'm trying to personally campaign about is that I think that there needs to be greater representation in the House of Commons and in Parliament as a whole. And I think that young people's views in particular are not listened to these days. And when you consider that the youngest MP in Parliament is 30 years old now, and that a huge majority is being underrepresented, I think that younger people need to be given a better chance in the political domain in the UK. And I would really like to see more younger people being encouraged to stand for Parliament and given the support and promptude that needed in order to really place them into an environment which is full of grey-haired middle-aged men at the moment.
Rashad Ali, I'm a writer. I think what I've taken away, there's a number of things I took away from today, but when looking at the question of what figure or what individual or what people we can look to for inspiration, I think fundamentally, unless we root ourselves in persons and ideas and values that are shared in our heritage, whether it's on the left or the right, those notions of equality, justice, fairness and pluralism, I think from there, because as basic ideals, we can start shaping where we want to go forward from. And I think that it has to be returned to those basic ideals, start defining our values and what we want to go for in the future.
My name is Martin McCluskey. I work in equality and human rights. The kind of society I want Britain to be is one where the people who could easily be left behind are looked after and are brought up to the same level as everyone else, where we think about equality of outcome as well as equality of opportunity. I think that the values of the left now are more important than ever before. The kind of values of collectivism, now that people are looking towards morals and markets, these are the values that the left have had for such a long time. And the period, I think if we look back in history towards the 1930s, 1940s, it was Labour values and progressive values that really that really pushed these things forward, and it's that we need to actually be tapping into again in order to try and work out what it is that we can look to in the future and